Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We are a nation in decline.
Experts are preparing for what is known as Disease X, or the next pandemic.
What we are seeing is a revolution against the system.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rise and Grind with VinceTagliavia, live with you every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time to talk about the news and events of the day. Today's February 14th, 2024, and here we are. Thank you all for tuning in. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Hope you're all doing well, and we're going to do just that. We're going to read the news, get through it, and then get on with our days. It's just kind of a normal day for most people, let's be honest. Hopefully y'all have a good day, and I guess that's it. I don't know. I didn't plan an intro, I'll be honest with you. I just want to talk about the news here, if you all don't mind. But let's do that. Why don't we? We're going to start with finance, as we often do most days, and with a quick look at the markets right now. The stock market has rebounded today, or, starting to make a comeback here after a crazy amount of red in the market because of the data that came out. Yeah, the inflation data really hit the market hard. Also, the interest rates debacle. People coming to terms with the interest rates are going to stay high until the end of the year, or maybe even until next year. Who knows? But that's kind of where we're sitting in the fake manipulated stock market. Things are green this morning for the most part. Gold is actually down a little bit, though. Gold is down to $2,002 on the dot. Silver is at $22.41. And Bitcoin is still surging, $51,630.33. That's pretty remarkable right there, if I do say so myself. $51,000 Bitcoin. All right. Good morning, all. And sorry I missed the show yesterday. I had business to take care of, but should be good the rest of the week here to have our normal shows. So I look forward to that. I'm looking forward to it. All right, onward here. This was a pretty funny post on X, considering today's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Good morning, Quiet Toad. Thank you. EJ Anthony posted this, and it's pretty funny, and it's very nice as well. He writes on X, "Ladies, this Valentine's Day, find yourself a man who sticks around as long as transitory inflation does." With a nice CPI chart here. The transitory inflation, boy, is it sticking around. Good God. So just kind of a little tongue-in-cheek Valentine's message. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that repost over there on X. All right. What else we got here? The real data behind inflation, not the fake data that CPI reported yesterday. So this is interesting. I mean, they released this data, and it's so bad. Even the fake data is hopeless. They can't even lie at this point, but they do anyway. I guess soften the blow buy some time. I don't know, but Wall Street Silver posted this thread. Team transitory inflation took a beating today. Inflation is nowhere near their 2% goal and is much higher than they are reporting. E.J. Antony. Here's the CPI thread on today's dumpster fire of a report. Hint, inflation isn't dead. You are $6,800 poorer because of it, and it's poised to get much worse next year. This is a chart showing the real average weekly earnings change since January 2021, going all the way down to minus 5% in 2022 and still below minus 4% today. First, the headlines: CPI rose 0.3% month over month, 3.1% year over year. Core food and energy rose 0.4%, 3.9% year over year. Team transitory has egg on their face for the 1,000th time. We haven't been trending toward 2%, but 3%. We are there, and there's no indication we're going lower. Consumer staples have gone through the roof since January 2021. Here's the basic energy components, all up 20% or more. That is gasoline, diesel, natural gas, propane, electricity, and home heating oil, which is up over 60% in this chart here. Good googly moogly. I mean, these numbers are outrageous. What they do with the CPI data, by the way, that they release is they take a nice basket. That's what they tell you. It's a good basket to show the overall, the overall health of the economy. And really, it's not. It's a manipulated basket at best. And that's my opinion. And here's the basic foodstuffs. No, we're talking about lunch meats, not caviar, being up 20% plus. Families have gotten absolutely crushed here. Flour is up over 30%. Poultry, almost 25%. Dairy, lunch meats, juices, bread, canned fruits and veggies, all about 25% increases. Eggs, over 35% increase. Baby food and formulas, almost 30% increase in price. This is the reality of the situation. I mean, fix your basket, CPI. All right, outside of food and energy, here we have pet food, vehicle repair, airline fares, delivery services, leased vehicles, tires, used vehicles, airfare, and vehicle insurance. Vehicle insurance being the higher at almost a 45% increase. Everything else well over a 20% increase that I just named. According, by the way, this data is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the charts are created by Real A. Jantoni. Real E. Jantoni, whoever that is. That's E.J. Antony. Sorry, E.J. Antony. I'm like slow, but it's this guy at Real E.J. Antony, PhD. And if you're trying to stay warm this winter, looking at you folks experiencing the nor'eastern right now, you're paying 29.4% more on average than January 2021. Natural gas, almost 30%. Oils, over 60%. Propane and electric, well over 20% increases. Good googly moogly. Mortgage payments, although virtually no one in the middle class can afford a home anymore, let only keep it warm. Monthly mortgage payments on median price home is up 90.4% in just 3 years. Wow, the mortgage payments are way up. But CPI doesn't directly measure housing, so it has grossly underestimated the cost of home ownership, pegging the increase at 20% when it's really 80%. It's like the insane health insurance metric, which is down 21% in the last 3 years. Inflation is much worse than CPI says. E.J. Antony continues and writes, and while the talking heads love to talk about rising wages, they haven't come anywhere close to keeping up with inflation. Even the underestimates from the CPI, the average working in January paid an inflation tax of $5.14 per hour. The difference between the two lines here. These are the average hourly earnings since January 2021. Whew, nominal is blue and real is green. Yikes. Onward, he writes, but it's better to look at weekly earnings, not hourly, since hours have been getting cut like crazy, and weekly earnings represent what people are actually taking home in the paycheck. They're down 4.4% adjusted for inflation. And we saw them manipulate data like this, by the way. Do some funky work with the hours in order to make things look better than they actually are, not counting entire work weeks as work weeks, essentially. Something like that is what happened, but just sneaky. But luckily, we've got people paying attention here. After a record 26 month of inflation outpacing annual earnings growth, the talking heads made sure everyone saw that we had a few months in the green, and now they're silent as prices rose faster than earnings over last year. Change in real weekly earnings, lots of red there. It's not just prices that are up, so are interest rates and all kinds of debt. Americans are now paying $200 plus billion annually in credit card interest alone. That's just the interest. Typical family is effectively $6,800 poorer because of lower real earnings and higher financing costs on larger debt balances. Wow. Inflation isn't dead. In fact, it's being undercounted. But Fed is looking for any excuse to cut rates in election year. Powell was hiking in 2018 and 2019 with less inflation than today. That means even more inflation in 2025. Buckle up, because the roller coaster isn't over. And here's like a projection, I suppose. You are here with Powell and company bowing to their political masters and readying rate cuts this year, which will set off another inflationary storm in 2025. This is the annual change in CPI, percent seasonally adjusted. And they project it's going to give us a lot of inflation here coming up in the coming months. Yikes. Wow. We're in for a ride, that's for sure. Well, what can we do? I mean, what can we do? We do our best. That's all we can do, right? How you doing, Black Jester? Good to see you. All right. We had news of Paramount Global laying off about 800 employees. This is a day after announcing their record Super Bowl ratings, which, by the way, were nothing compared to the ratings that Tucker got on his Tucker Putin interview on X, which has over 200 million views now, I do believe. Let me double check. Let's go Tucker. Let's double check that. It was at 199 million the other day. Let's see, how many views does it have? 201 million views now, whereas Super Bowl has 120 million views. Ha ha. Can you believe that? The Tucker interview got more views than the Super Bowl. That is such great news. I love to hear that. I certainly didn't watch the Super Bowl. I'm not into it. And especially with all what we know about all this stuff, it's hard to watch, take seriously. All right. Not that, I mean, you guys do what you want. If you like it, you like it, but it's hard for me to watch. But I watch other stupid stuff. Don't get me wrong. I do pointless things all the time. But thank you, Jonathan Marsh, for tuning in. We might be having DLive issues. It seems to be okay on my end, but okay. Sorry to hear that. Top of the morning to you, Forrest. All right, onward here. What else do we got? We're going to talk a little bit more about finance this morning. John Kennedy came out and put a message out this morning. What a joke we have in our political arena. Oh, John Kennedy, the U.S. Senator of Louisiana, came out and made a post. He says, it's Valentine's Day, so he thought this would be appropriate. He says, Chocolate-covered strawberries are a sweet Valentine's Day tradition, but the bitter truth is that they now cost Americans 26% more under Biden inflation. And Cat Turd made a wonderful observation saying, "You just voted to print $95 billion to give to foreign wars. Let's not pretend you give a fuck about inflation the very next day." And boy, is that true. These people, I mean, they say a little bit of truth here and there. And when you hear it, you're like, oh, that sounds good. Maybe this John Kennedy guy, maybe he's a pretty good guy. Look at him. He's, shining the light on the bullshit. But then you look at the other actions and you're like, wait a second. This doesn't match. What's going on here? It's a big scam. That's all it is. It's a game. It's a game they play. It's a psychological game, a lot of it. But yeah, it's just silly. Absolutely silly. Of course, it's probably not him himself making this. I mean, I'm pretty sure John Kennedy didn't sit down and make a little infographic of strawberries with his John Kennedy U.S. Senator logo and the little text there, his meme. Probably a worker, but still, come on. Trump's Valentine's Day message to Melania. And I'm sorry, there's so much Valentine's Day stuff, but it's Valentine's Day. What can I can't do anything about that. Trump said, "Dear Melania, I love you. Even after every single indictment, arrest, and witch hunt, you never left my side. You always supported me through everything, and I wouldn't be the man I am today without your guidance, kindness, and warmth. You will always mean the world to me, Melania. From your husband with love, Donald J. Trump." A very nice message to Melania from Trump. It's just interesting. I don't know. I found it interesting. I thought I would share, and kind of off topic. Let's get back to kind of a finance-ish lane here. Canada will stop building new roads. This is an article. Our government has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure. Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault says. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. I apologize to my Canadian listeners out there, but Guilbeault wants municipalities to stop building roads. He urges people to walk. Wow. We're done building roads. We did it, everybody. We built enough roads. Wow. And natural gas prices are just insane. We'll just breeze over that one. And what's this one? More Clown World stuff? I forget. What do we got here? This video was trending, and you may have seen it, but if not, I wanted to share it. This guy is posting a video saying, how to get a house in Portland, Oregon, basically is the premise here. And I found this to be fascinating, alarming, and entertaining, to say the least. So here, let's watch and see what he says.
This is how I got a free house in Portland, Oregon, and how you can too. So the first thing I did was find a vacant house that somebody was trying to rent. Next, I looked up how to break into a lockbox without using force. Thanks, YouTube. Next, I forged some documents. This made it look like I had a lease agreement, and I called the utility companies and had the utilities put in my name. I'm not going to pay them, but they don't know that. When the owner showed up, I politely explained that this was my house now, and they need to leave. So they call the police, and I show them my lease agreement and the utility bills, and they tell the owner that this is a civil matter, and they've got to sue me. This made the owner super angry, so she lawyers up and tries to evict me. Of course, I can't afford a lawyer, so I call up a tenant advocacy group who gives me a lawyer that's 100% free and funded by taxpayers. So my out-of-pocket is still $0. So this lawyer fights on my behalf for months and months, really driving the owner crazy and costing her tens of thousands of dollars. Finally, the owner decided it would be cheaper to just give me a chunk of cash to leave rather than continue paying the lawyer. So she writes me a check for $10K and I move out. I didn't even have to clean the place up, and that's a good thing because I do a lot of drugs and the house looks every bit of it. Still no thank you note for aerating the walls, but whatever. So I just got 9 months of free rent in a house that otherwise would have cost me $3,000 a month, plus a nice cash for keys check. And I wasn't even charged with anything. I always thought that stealing was wrong, but it turns out if you steal a house, it's not even against the law here. So this couldn't have worked out any better. Thanks, Portland.
I think this is a parody, but it's a reality, and to shed the light on the fact that people do this. This happens to people, or their houses get stolen by squatters in these liberal cities. It happens. It really does happen. And it's the way the system's built. It defends these criminals. It's really horrible, but an interesting video, to say the least. Wow. Pretty wild stuff. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the U.S. and the UN and how wonderful they are funding the border crisis here. Cash and envelopes. How the U.S. and UN are funding the border crisis. Zero Hedge writes that the United States is bankrolling its own invasion by funding the United Nations and its partners, which in turn give hundreds of millions of dollars in cash and aid to migrants who eventually cross the U.S. southern border illegally. We're aware of this. I mean, most of us are well aware of this. We've talked about it many times, but let's read this article a bit. While the UN has aided migrants for decades, the scope of its operation has dramatically expanded as the number of illegal immigrants from at least 160 countries into the U.S. has surged. That expansion has been fueled by more than $1 billion in funding from the U.S. government to the UN and other agencies assisting migrants, according to a government spending database. Migrants. It's not migrants. A lot of them are criminals. A lot of them are criminals, drug dealers, cartel members, military-trained agents from other countries, terrorists, human traffickers, drug traffickers. You got all kinds of good things coming across the border. They write, that expansion has been, onward here. We're actually funding our own border crisis, Todd Bensman, Senior National Security Fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies, a pro-immigrant, low-immigration think tank, told the Epoch Times. And it's provided by, ultimately, the United States taxpayer. Just like the overseas wars. I added that bit. Zero Hedge writes, until President Joe Biden took office, the U.S. has had obligated about $500 million per year to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, the UN's migration arm. But that funding has skyrocketed under the Biden administration to nearly $1.3 billion in 2023, more than double what it had been under the Trump administration, according to usaspending.gov. The government spending database shows that most of the money comes from the State Department and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Two of the largest government giveaways were voluntary contributions to the UN's IOM from the State Department's Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, totaling $547 million over 2 years, ending in 2023. The Bureau's objective was to fund processing individuals requesting refugee status and resettlement in the United States and arrange their movement. Good googly moogly. It goes on. It talks about the cards, the cash cards that are given to people, and the help that they get, and what we've been seeing with the border crisis. This is all orchestrated, and it's all on purpose. I think this ties directly in with the election coming up. They're going to get a lot of votes for Joe from these illegal immigrants, I'm suspecting. Let's go on here. A lot of violence here in my notes. Just we've got a lot of injuries and officers being injured from a van crash in southeast London. 9 injured, including 6 police officers. 3 officers shot in DC and a suspect barricaded. We had a van or some kind of vehicle crash into a hospital yesterday. The list goes on of just all these violent, crazy events going on around the world. Just society kind of crumbling. There's always just somebody or some event unfolding that is tragic and alarming and a sign, I think, of a decaying society to some extent. I really think that's the case. It's not a good sign when you see this stuff multiple times a day and multiple, it's happening in multiple places around the world at the same time of day. And it's horrendous. Not good. But we're not going to go into the details of all those. We're going to move on, talk a little bit about politics here. Ronnie Jackson calls on Biden to undergo a cognitive exam, which we found out that Biden is refusing to take, the first U.S. president to refuse to take a cognitive test after being called, not fit enough to stand trial or not fit enough to take responsibility for breaking the law, but fit enough to be president. Yeah, Biden needs to take this cognitive test. Of course, he'll fail. And the results of that, I don't love, because that means what? Kamala's president?
I want to just state the obvious. If you're not cognitively fit to stand trial or to answer accusations against you, you're obviously not cognitively fit to be the president, our commander in chief, and our head of state. And I think that, we have to, at this particular point, we have to start asking the hard questions. I'm glad to see that some of the press is starting to do that. I've been saying individually for a long time since he was candidate Joe Biden, that this man's not cognitively fit to be our head of state and our commander-in-chief. We've had lots of evidence of that since then. A lot of people are starting to see that. Now we have the HER reports coming out, which is a completely different angle on this, an objective report from a member, from an appointee of his own DOJ, from his own administration, that's saying that he's not cognitively fit to do his job. I think that when the president got up the other day and tried to speak to the nation, he just reiterated and reinforced the idea that we are in trouble in this country right now from a leadership standpoint. Look, this LNG thing is a big issue for us. I grew up in the oil field in West Texas. I know how important this is. It's a national security issue. It's an issue for our economy. It's going to punish hardworking blue-collar folks in this country. But, whether it's this LNG issue, whether it's our disaster at the border, whether it's the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the crime in our cities, all of the other issues that have just been an absolute disaster during the Biden administration, what it says to us is that Joe Biden is probably most likely not making these decisions. We know this at this particular point. There are radical extremists in the West Wing, whether it's climate extremists or whether it's the globalists that are making a lot of these decisions. These decisions are not coming from President Biden. These are coming from other folks within the White House with different agendas, with an agenda that's not America first, that's not in the best interest of this country. So I just want to let everybody know that we are going to continue to make this an issue. I will be introducing another letter today. This will be the fifth letter that I've introduced, that I've sent to the president. This will go directly to President Biden. It will CC every member of his cabinet, and it will insist that he come forward and be honest with us about his physical and his mental capabilities and his exams. He's supposed to be getting a physical exam done here in just a few months, his annual physical. They've already indicated that there will not be a cognitive test associated with that. I think if there was ever a time that we need a cognitive test for a sitting president of the United States, it's right now. And as you remember, President Trump got one. I think he set the precedent. It was a large part because of the press's insistence that he have that included as part of his physical exam. I would like to see that same type of enthusiasm and insistence from the press right now, that President Biden submit to a cognitive exam as part of his physical exam. And if he thinks he's fit to lead this country, prove it to us with some objective data that says so. And with that, I just want to turn it over to...
So, yeah, they're talking about a cognitive exam months down the road. I mean, what are we going to do until then? Just let him hold the nuclear codes and wander around? And I understand that Biden actually probably doesn't have control over all that stuff. He's probably being undermined by a lot of people in his administration and outside of his administration. Let's face it, that's probably the case. Who knows who has control over Biden, right? His family, his friends, his associates, maybe Barack Obama. Who knows? There's a lot of conspiracies out there and a lot of reasons why. But I don't think Biden really has that control to set off nukes. I hope not. That would be absolutely insane if so. And if not, that's also concerning. I mean, who has the nuclear button in the United States? It needs to be handled before a few months. It needed to be handled years ago when the election was stolen. I mean, we're just pushing this along and pushing it along. He'll probably stay in office unless he passes away of natural causes. He'll probably stay in there until the election, and then they'll try to continue their shenanigans. It's a horrible situation, but really it needs to be cleaned up, even though the result of Biden being impeached or just kicked out, we get Kamala, and then they say, well, don't worry, they have a plan to get rid of Kamala. It's like, how can we be sure? What's that plan? But I don't want to see Kamala as president, that's for sure. But at the same time, we need to do something. It should have been done a long time ago. It should be done urgently, not just hoping on a cognitive test months down the road from now. We don't need a cognitive test to make this official, okay? It's well accepted and known that this is ridiculous and unacceptable and 100% an issue. All right, so I don't understand this political dancing around the issues. It's just a big, silly game at this point, in my opinion. It's just ridiculous, really ridiculous. Truly. Onward here. Strong evidence emerges claiming CIA masterminded the entire Russian collusion hoax leveraged against President Trump. Imagine that. Chuck Colesto reported on this and gave us this nice clip from Fox News.
This is a Fox News alert. Brand new details about how Obama's CIA targeted Trump and started the entire Russia hoax. For years, we were told that tips from an Australian diplomat tipped off the FBI after a random conversation with Papadopoulos, a no-name 20-something. But according to new reporting by Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, the whole thing was a CIA setup. Former CIA Director John Brennan identified 26 Trump associates to be targeted by the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, and then those interactions were the targets and were targeted by the FBI as suspicious. And that's how the FBI launched the Russia collusion hoax. The details of this entire operation have been stored in a top secret binder in a secret room in Washington. Trump ordered the whole thing declassified, and now the rumor is that the binder might be missing.
Of course, we've known this for a long time. Everyone's been talking about it. It's resurfacing now. The binder's missing. I don't know. That's just a rumor there. Good googly moogly. You can't make this stuff up. They're just stringing us along. General Flynn called Barack Obama out on X.com again last night. He wrote, Barack Obama admitted on X. Admit it. You staged a coup against the duly elected President Trump. The meeting you held in the Oval Office January 5th, 2017 was to put the plan into effect. Admit it. You know it's true. And General Michael Flynn was replying to this post by Michael Schellenberger saying, FBI started spying on the Trump campaign after foreign governments, by chance, discovered evidence that his advisors were colluding with the Russians, the government says. But now multiple credible sources tell us that the CIA asked foreign allies to spy on 26 Trump associates. Yeah, illegal. Of course, Trump's not the only one being spied on. Every American is being illegally spied on as well, but we just let that continue day by day by day. 105 House Republicans joined Democrats to expel Representative George Santos. This is last night. Yeah, and the list is on the internet. I've retweeted it if you want it. And then after that, after George Santos was expelled, a Democrat won his seat. A Democrat won his seat. Unbelievable. Democrat Tom Suozzi has just won George Santos's former House seat in New York. So good news and then a really quick dose of bad news shortly after. So now the Democrats have gained yet another seat in the House. Nick Sorter writes, was it a good idea to remove Santos? I think it was, but obviously it backfired. What do you do? What do you do? Wow. Yeah. Just the corruption is just absurd. The FBI may have raided Mar-a-Lago in search of missing binder that purportedly proves the CIA set up the Russia collusion narrative. This story is developing, and that's one version of it. I wonder when. Chuck Calesto writes that, and he says that a bombshell will drop today on the matter. A bombshell. They always say that. Bombshell, bombshell. We'll see. Oh, wait. Shock video. Dana White walks off of Howie Mandel's podcast. We'll watch that in a second, but we're waiting for this to break. Chuck Calesto says that something will break today. The binder is now missing. Is this what he's talking about? Fox News is reporting on it. We'll see if we have more information today. If anything breaks later, I will go live. So make sure you hit the notification options wherever you're watching if you want to tune into any impromptu live shows that occur. Let's see what happens here with Dana White on Howie Mandel's podcast. I'm just curious as to what this is. I haven't watched this yet. It's just piqued my interest right now. And if I don't watch it now, I'm not going to watch it for hours. So let's check this out. Actually, I could probably find the time, but we're just going to do it now.
Dana White, you are an amazing guy. I can't thank you enough for being here. You and Ginger seem to be getting along. You are not only an amazing businessman, you are an inspiration, you are a philosopher. The way you do business, the way you conduct your business and your friendships and media is, I'm jealous. But Dana, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate it. I am so fucking tired of doing podcasts. I'm literally done with them. I'm not doing any more podcasts.
Huh. Is that real? That's awkward.
Dana White, you are an amazing.
So what? What am I missing here? That was weird. What do you notice? Let's see. I'm going to read the comments here. Was that a joke? It seems like something Howie would do because they always have like really dramatic scenes. I don't know. It's a gig. It's a joke, a skit. That's what people are saying. And I've seen them do stuff like this before. It's a really annoying podcast, by the way. Super woke and annoying. Someone says, I noticed how fake and stage it looks. Yeah, I get that feeling too. Yeah, well, we'll see. Anyway, probably just a nothing burger there. Sorry about that. But they got me. They got me with their clickbait. That's how they get you. Lucas says he just did the Full Send podcast and looks like he had a good time. Yeah, so it's just probably for a viral clip. That's what they did, right? They set that up. They do that. I've seen them do that before with Howie's daughter getting upset about vaccines and I'm immunocompromised, and you said you don't wash your hands or some bullshit, something stupid. Anyway, thanks, Lucas. I did not know that. Onward. Let's see here. What other crazy things are going on in this wacky world? This was an interesting story here. Leading report put out, and I'm skeptical on all this stuff. Let's face it. I don't care where it's coming from, whether it's being aired on mainstream media or not, or this person says it or that person says it, or anybody could say anything these days. But Apparently, leading report says former President Trump is allegedly working on a military roundup of immigrants by activating a private red state army that would go into blue states, deporting millions, including immigrants who protested Israel's invasion of Gaza, according to Stephen Miller. So there you have it. I mean, it sounds pretty far out there. Stephen Miller coming out there and alleging that Trump has military that's going to be operating. I mean, it sounds kind of far out and not realistic to me. I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm sorry, you folks. I don't believe it. I'll be honest with you. Maybe there's some kind of plan, but this is just, what do you think? Do you think Trump has a secret military and he's gonna round up the immigrants? Sounds crazy, man. But I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of plan or something, but gosh, I don't know. It's not exactly wise, and I don't know, anyway, to air it out like that publicly. But if that was the case, I guess it would be impossible to hide anyway at some point. Onward. Let's just go onward here. Jon Stewart's show started up again, and he made fun of Joe Biden for being objectively old and and Biden's inability to remember very basic things in The Daily Show, which is back on. Totally, completely irrelevant. I don't think people really watch it anymore. But Jon Stewart making fun of Joe Biden, desperately trying to get views and ratings and continue to be relevant when everybody's just noticed that he's a complete libtard and no one likes his show. That's what's happening on that front. Jon Stewart, good luck with your show, man. I don't think it'll make it through the year, I'll be honest. It might, but who knows? It's just a guess. Here's a good conspiracy for those of us who like a good conspiracy out there. Like I said, I don't believe any of this stuff, but Ellsworth says maybe he had to go pee. That's funny. Hey, thank you, Feliciatas, for following. Whatever your name is, I appreciate the follow. Thank you very much. Let's see here what conspiracy I'm talking about. I call them spiracies for some reason. The real reason for Joe Biden's creepy late night post that said, "Just like we drew it up." And we have this video that this girl put out, and it's an interesting conspiracy. That's, what I'm going to leave it as. I don't know if it's real, if it's not. It's just interesting. So let's watch and tell me what you think. Real, fake?
I find it very weird that no one is talking about how there were 6 Nigerian billionaires who died in a plane crash mysteriously while on their way to the Super Bowl, and how I find it very
we
weird
talked about
that no one is
sorry. We talked about this plane crash, or this helicopter crash, by the way, on Monday morning, I believe.
Talking about how there were 6 Nigerian billionaires who died in a plane crash mysteriously while on their way to the Super Bowl, and how Biden just posted this cryptic ass message right after they died. The CEO of one of the largest banks in the country was on a helicopter with pilots, family, and the CEO/chairman of the Nigeria Stock Exchange when their helicopter mysteriously caught fire and crashed while on their way to the Super Bowl. And what are the odds that Biden on his presidential X account drops this photo with glowing red eyes and this weird caption that shocks all of America? And the caption for this picture that he actually posted on the presidential Twitter account was, "Just like we drew it up," and everyone thought that they were talking about the Super Bowl when they weren't. I honestly believe that this is what they were talking about. And if you are unfamiliar with the Nigerian Stock Exchange and what they have going on right now with America and just the overall fight for power, money, and greed, you need to pay attention to what is going on. One of the people on that aircraft was a chief executive of Access Bank, and his wife and his son were among those 6 people that were on board, and it went down shortly after 10 p.m. on Interstate 15, and all 6 people were killed, including 2 pilots and the former chairman of NGX Group, the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And what's so crazy, it is saying that authorities are investigating it, which means to me they may suspect foul play. They are trying to say that this could take up to 2 years. This entire investigation could take up to 2 years, and they are calling it a terrible tragedy. The Super Bowl was a giant ritual, and those people in that helicopter, think about it. If you take out the owner and CEO of a large bank, one of the largest banks in the country, you take off his wife, and you take out his son, who is left to get the money? Think about it.
I don't know who is left to get the money in that point. I don't know their whole situation or what, but it's a very interesting thing that occurred there. That's for sure. Hey, thank you, Amanda. Vince, you're awesome. Thank you for breaking all the news down in such a great, lighthearted way. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. It's very kind words. It's my pleasure. All right, let's see what else we got here to wrap things up, and then we're all going to break away and do what we got to do. Big day ahead of me. I'm sure you as well. Let's just do a little lightning round. What's going on? Let's talk about China. China at the UN has demanded to stop the arms supplies to Ukraine, of course, by the US and the funding. That's at the UN. They've been staunchly against all of these conflicts around the world. Ukraine anti-conscription protests emerge as Zelensky hunts for manpower. The people of Ukraine apparently just do not want to fight in these never-ending wars any longer. So many families have suffered. So many people have lost their lives, not only Ukrainians, but Russians, and then all the other wars going on around the world. It's just horrible, 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 horrible. So naturally, they're beginning to protest. That's the word on the internet, at least. Good morning, Black Jester. Morning, Feliciatus. Oh, I thought you were saying Felicia's. I was like, why are you calling us Felicia's? Yeah, the new follower. That's awesome. Thank you for the follow. Let's see. Hundreds of British Army vehicles are heading to Poland as NATO forces stage their biggest operations since the Cold War. Insider Paper reports that. Get ready. I mean, it's just drills. It's just, it's just pretend stuff, right? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, look, not saying that World War III is going to break out. It could, though. These drills or these practices could very well turn real. I think a lot of people agree with that sentiment. I've heard other people go down that lane of things. It probably wouldn't be the first time something like that happens. It's the perfect guise for the beginning of a war, isn't it? Onward. Russia intends to double the number of its troops stationed along its border with the Baltic states and Finland, as this is all happening at the same time, of course. Well, Russia is saying they're just preparing for a larger war, right? World war, just in case. The Insider Paper reported on this too. What are they preparing for? They put it in other words. What'd they say? They said part of preparations for a potential military conflict with NATO within the next decade. That is according to Estonia's foreign intelligence. So, world war in the next decade. Well, does that mean we're going to have 4 years of peace under Trump or something, and they're going to get right back to their greed and corruption? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully Trump gets elected, and then we just have this wonderful moment of peace for years to come, and a trend of law and order and anti-corruption. That'll be the day, huh? A man can dream. A Russian warship has been destroyed off the Crimean coast, Ukraine says, posting video as well. And we saw one of these just a couple weeks ago as well, a video of a Russian ship being hit with a drone or a water drone. So another Russian warship destroyed. We'll probably see retaliation for this, no doubt, from Russia against Ukraine. There was apparently, and I haven't confirmed this, let me look to see if there's any updates. I saw a report, an initial report from someone called World Source 24 that said that there was a huge gas explosion in Iran. And I saw that right as it was put out there, so it could have been baloney, but no. Iran explosions, 26th of June, June 30th, July 2nd, and July 10th. We've had gas explosions confirmed in Iran. We have Mario Knopfel posting this gas explosion in Iran 17 hours ago. He says that a gas pipeline carrying gas from southern Iran to several major cities has exploded. The cause is unclear at this time, according to the Iran Observer. So I think it's maybe true, but not a whole lot on it. That's the thing with these international conflicts and events. It's very difficult to figure out what's real, what's BS and whatnot. So we just have to be careful. But when things come up, I'll mention it to the best of my ability as it fits into this news cycle. We also have a cyber attack that hit Iran parliament websites, according to their state media. And that happened over the last couple of days there. Just more cyber attacks. We're seeing that globally, aren't we? And reports about it too. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about health, folks. Health is very, very important. We're going to end on health. It's so hard. I've been struggling on being healthy. I've been doing pretty good and staying really active, but not 100% perfect. I mean, it's so difficult, especially today's Valentine's Day. Let's face it, we're probably going to eat some damn chocolate and fall into the scam, the sugar scam, and the marketing scams, and just give into it, right? Or, we'll go on a date, we'll go eat, we'll splurge, we'll get dessert, we'll watch a movie, we'll do whatever, right? We'll live life, we'll have fun. That's what people say too. It's funny. Whenever I'm really strict with my habits and my eating and what I'm doing with my lifestyle, and I try to encourage people sometimes around me, and they're like, I get this a lot. They're like, or friends of mine, or even listeners like you guys, to be like, some of you, not all of you. Some people, though, have this idea. They're like, I just want to be happy. I'm not going to torture myself. I'm going to enjoy the moment. I'm going to eat this, fried Twinkie. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, right? And I get that sentiment. But we all need to just keep it in mind. I think that helps me stay healthy. And at least if I do eat, some bullshit, I don't know, chocolate or whatever, or have a drink of alcohol, which rarely I do, but who knows, you never know what's going to happen in a day. I always make sure to just keep it really at the forefront of my mind. So if I do eat chocolate, I'm definitely going to push myself to work out, right? If I do eat a carb meal, I'm going to really, really work out hard. But it's good to just stay on top of health and learn more about health, learn more about anatomy, learn more about how vitamins work in our systems. What vitamin do you need, or what nutrients do you need in order for a vitamin to be absorbed properly? All this kind of stuff. I mean, we should all make health a part of our daily intake of information and study. There's a lot of fantastic doctors out there that have podcasts and make content regarding health, although we have to be hyper vigilant with the information that we take in. I mean, there's a lot of studies and a lot of opinions, and it's a highly controversial topic, but I think there's a pretty good grasp of health in general among a lot of doctors. So we have to be vigilant on that front. I did want to share this video or whatever it is here, and it's about antidepressants. Vigilant Fox on X posted this, and they said, surprise, surprise. It turns out that antidepressants have been propped up by fraudulent science. And he posted a clip here by the Jimmy Dore show, Jimmy Dore of the Jimmy Dore show. Oh, wow. Google Maps was down for a few hours this morning nationwide. I did not know that. Ooh, I wonder if they got hacked or what's going on there. Thank you for the update on that live. Thank you, Lucas. Let's see what the Jimmy Dore show said about antidepressants. This is fascinating. I stay away from this stuff like it's the plague. By the way, like it's the plague, somebody in Oregon State just died of the bubonic plague. Somebody just died of the bubonic plague in Oregon. Whoa. Anyway, yeah, I avoid these like the plague, and I just was reminded of that.
Gross misconduct, the nail in the coffin for antidepressants. This is written by Dr. Joseph Mercola, who I've had on the show. As reported in the 2023 system, first of all, just so we found out, by the way, I have a feeling this isn't going to be the nail in the coffin for antidepressants. I have a feeling they're going to somehow get around this. So remember this, as reported in 2023, they did a systemic umbrella review of the evidence for the serotonin theory of depression. And this is what the conclusion was. The main areas of serotonin research provide no consistent evidence of there being an association between serotonin and depression, and no support for the hypothesis that depression is caused by lowered serotonin activity or concentration. So the whole basis for serotonin uptake inhibitors, which is what Zoloft is and Prozac, they completely got taken out by the knees, but they're still prescribing the hell out of them.
It does affect the urge to gamble, and also one guy won a lawsuit because he became gay, and that was held up in court.
So they do make you more likely to still wear a mask in public. So that.
All right. Wow. So yeah. So the main premise here, according to Epic Health, their fundamental baseline research is flawed. Imagine that. Wow. Is anybody surprised? Not me. Not me. All right, folks. Be sure to hit your subscribe buttons, follow buttons, alerts. I may go live from time to time, a couple times a week as things break later in the evening and I'm available. What do I got? What do I got here? Closing. In closing, I'll be live again tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. There was something I wanted to mention. Gosh, I don't remember what it was. But I don't know. You can follow me on x.com. Just search my name. Thank you, Quiet Toad. Have a great day. You can search my name and find me on x.com. Tag me in news. Talk about news. I have the most hated poll on X running right now. So you could go vote on this terrible poll that's been running since yesterday. I would appreciate that. I posted it an hour ago before the show, and I said, don't be shy in voting in the most despised poll on X. Happy Valentine's Day. Who would you rather be Valentine's with? You have to pick one. Big Mike, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, or Kamala Harris. And I only have 31 votes. People just don't want to vote on this. They're disgusted. They hate it. They don't want to play. But I'd appreciate it if you go over to X and check it out. Right now, Kamala Harris is in the lead with 64.5%, wanting to be Valentine's with her over these other ones. But there's a lot to offer here from all these other options. Big Mike, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and Kamala Harris. So, yeah, I appreciate that. I think I would pick... man, that's a really hard one. I don't know who I would pick. It's a really tough decision. Maybe I'd probably pick Hillary Clinton. Right? And someone else said it too. I mean, I don't want to be on her list. That's it. I don't want to hurt her feelings. Right? So that's who I pick. All right. Well, everybody, I'll be live again soon. Thank you, Quiet Toad. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Jonathan. Everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. And thank you, Forrest, for the ice cream donation over there. Everybody have a great day. I'll be on X if you want to hit me up and tag me and stuff. We'll have a good old time over there. Until next time, take care. God bless and Godspeed.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
'24 may be the year of a black swan event.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.